Yom Kippurim, we go into a holiday that is action-based, and perhaps there's no greater holiday than Sukkot that has much to do with being active physically with our feet, our hands. One of the most critical things that I have seen in halakha as it relates to Sukkot is the word bediavad. When and how many, so many variations as to, hey, if I can't do the mitzvah in the best prescribed manner, what is the secondary option? So the secondary option for what is a b'diavad sukkah, what is b'diavad schach, what is the secondary option, the bare minimum of a etrog, of a kosher etrog, and so on and so forth. And over here, I feel that a person, after being in the maybe spiritual mode, the cloud of Yom Kippur, now we're coming down into the physical dimensions of what we really have in front of us. What am I holding in my hands? What's the bare minimum I'm starting with? And whatever you have, if it could fit into the criteria of halakha, and you take that and you go from there. That's why there's a lot of b'diavad. Speaking of b'diavad, very interesting question. There's a halakha that says, we learned yesterday that from one word in the Torah, which is lachem, we learn a lot of halakhot of the etrog. One of the halachot is that etrog hayavesh, if it is dry, pasul, it is not kosher. What is a dry etrog? A dry etrog is the ones that you had in your fridge and you forgot that it was there for like a year, and then you take it out and it looks like a dead rat or something, or something like that, like this hard thing. That's a etrog hayavesh. But sometimes we have to consider, halakha is just to know all the parameters of all the borders of everything. So what is a dry etrog? It's an etrog that does not have any moisture inside of it. Okay? So one way of determining if it has moisture, you could take a needle and poke it inside and see if it comes out with moisture, or squeeze it a little bit and see if it comes out with moisture. Rav Ovadia Yosef asks an amazing question. He says, hey, so are you saying that all the etrogim that I had in my fridge or my freezer from last year, are they all non-kosher anymore?
Yeah.
What's the criteria? If a year passes, is it dry? How do I know? So he says, generally speaking, when a year passes, your etrog is no longer good. However, the time is not the essence. The value of the etrog itself is what we're looking at. We're not just because time passed, rather the etrog itself. And therefore, if a year passed and you have a way of putting it in your fridge in a certain temperature or in your freezer, whatever it is, and it's still moist, is it or is it not kosher? Says Rav Ovadia, it is still kosher, as long as it's still moist. And a very interesting halakha, if you could find a way to do that. Also, the Mishnah Berurah, the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Berurah explain that all the laws of the etrog, except for a stolen etrog in lulav, except for those, but all the laws of the etrog that we say not kosher if it's dry, not kosher if it has too many spots on it, not kosher if it had, if some of the pitum fell off and all that, that's only lechatchila b'diavad, which means in a situation where in all of Seattle, if you live in Seattle, all the city that you're in, there's no other etrog, and there's only one etrog, all the variations that we have, they don't apply, and you could use a etrog that's not the best looking one, it's not the most lechatchila one. You could use a b'diavad etrog if that's the only situation that you have. Yeah, even without a pitum. And the whole thing with a pitum is that it has a shoshanta, which is the very top kind of crown, and then that thing falls off. The Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Berurah explain.
Beauty.
They explain exactly. They explain that the whole thing with the stem has to fall off. If just the pitum falls and you still have a little bit of the stem, it's kasher. Why? Why is it not kosher when the stem falls off? Because it's like there's like some sort of a loop inside, so it's chaser. It's lacking from the real essence of the etrog. But if the etrog is still there and you still have even a tiny bit of a stem and there's no kind of like graving inside, imprint inside, then it is still kasher. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful.